So, Aevar, thank you very much for sitting down with me. Tell me again how long you've been carnivore.
So I've been eating this way for 2 years, 2 years and 2 months, 26 months
Okay, and
now.
what made you, so you're eating only meat, is this correct?
Yeah. Well, I'm eating only animal-based nutrition, or I only eat animal products. So basically, most of what I eat is red meat. It's about 90 something percent, probably 99% is lamb and beef. And sometimes I have eggs, sometimes I have pork, sometimes I have chicken, fish. I sometimes use butter with it, but mostly I just eat plain red meat with salt. And the only plant product I put in my body is coffee.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and why do you eat mostly red meat? Is it because you crave it? Is it because this is what tastes best for you, or is it of certain reactions that you have?
Well, when I think back, I've always liked red meat most of all foods. That's just what has made me feel the best way. But when I started to really think about diet and nutrition, I've actually been interested in the topic for a long time, 30 years. But 7.5 years ago, I had uh, a stroke, a minor stroke to my head, and then I was put on medication, and I asked for advice on what to eat, but I couldn't get any from the doctors and nurses. So I started researching, and for some reason I ended up in the low carb field. And so I've been eating low carb mostly for 7 or 8 years, and all the way down to strict keto and up to just like paleo and something like that. Been trying a lot around with lots of meat, also low carb with lots of veggies, with lighter proteins, what I call like fish and chicken instead of the red meat. But it's always the red meat that makes me feel the best way. So I did actually try out this carnivore diet almost 3 years ago for a month when I was challenged to go vegan for a month in January 2017, or just before that. My friends and a lot of people who know me, they were challenging me to try the veganuary that has been trending in Iceland. So, and it didn't appeal to me, and I just decided to go the other way, to cut out all the plants and eat only meat. But that wasn't really a strict carnivore then. I just ate animal products. I ate a lot of eggs, a lot of cheese, I just ate whatever we were cooking in my work at the hospital. If there was fish, I ate only the fish, usually with a lot of butter to get some filling in my stomach. If I was making a casserole, or a bolognese or something that had a little bit of veggies in it, that's what I ate. I didn't matter. I just didn't eat the pasta or didn't eat the potatoes or the rice or whatever. And I did that for about 25 days. I had good results. I lost a little weight, maybe 2 kilos. I wasn't even trying to. I did feel quite much better. I got immediately. I did sleep better for some reason, and I felt like I had a bit more energy. But when the month of January was up, I decided to stop for a while and have some blood tests, and because I wasn't really sure if this was okay to be doing. So that's what I did. At the end of January, I stopped eating only meat and went back to my low carb ways. And I had been researching, and I had been on social media, and I found Sean Baker and had been following him. He was new in this as well. He started this at that time just a few days before me. So I see this guy who's a doctor. He's my age. He's an athlete. He's really putting it out there, you know. He's gaining muscle strength. He's doing better in the gym, and that's I wasn't, you know, I've always been working out and stuff like that, but I'm not at the same intensity as he obviously was, and he was breaking world records, and then I followed him, and for a few months I ate, you know, strict keto. Then I tried to incorporate more carbs, more veggies and stuff like that. And then he started to talk about to have an experiment or a study where he wanted people to sign up to eat meat only and drink water for 90 days. That was sometime in the summer, in May or June, I think. So I signed up and just waited for that to start. So when he decided the study or the trial would start was on 15th of June. I just decided I would keep my low carb. No, it was the 15th of August, 2017. I decided to keep my low carb until then and have my blood work done before. So I started this way again on the 15th of August, 2017, and I meant to do it for 90 days. But now I'm like 800 days in, something like that. And I am not quitting, you know, for any reason. But I do like, you know, I'm strict on my diet, but when I visit my mom, you know, I don't want to trouble her. You know, I just eat whatever she has to offer. And so it's not, I just try to, you know, my diet consists of basically only red meat with a little bit of something else, but plant foods are not welcome in my body unless, you know, I'm visiting my mom, actually.
I see. What I find astounding is that you seem to be immune to peer pressure because when your friends were telling you, you know what, let's try the vegan diet, you said, no, thank you. And you went exactly the other way.
Yeah. So that's basically because I feel like I had tried, not the vegan diet, but I had tried to be like vegetarian, you know, eating a lot of vegetables with eggs and fish and also with red meat. And it just didn't make me feel good enough. I felt good for a while, but after eating less meat and a lot of veggies, I had problems like energy levels went up for a while and then they went down, and it didn't really matter what I did. I tried to time my meals or whatever. I just wasn't feeling good enough. I wasn't feeling bad, but I wasn't feeling good enough because I had been feeling better, so I wanted that back. And usually that called for more meat, more red meat actually.
Mm.
So no, I don't get pressured into stuff like this.
This is awesome. Yeah. Well, another interesting thing is that although you had a stroke, you were not afraid to eat more meat, and then logically that resulted also in eating more saturated fat, because you know there's another medical myth that 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 is spread around and that some people believe is that the fat somehow clogs the arteries and that it could contribute to stroke. And yet you were completely like unfazed by that. You said, "No, screw that. I'm just gonna do my thing. I'm just gonna eat more meat."
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
pretty
well,
cool.
so firstly, after the stroke, I may have been eating less red meat,
Hmm.
but about 6 months after the stroke, I started my job in the hospital kitchen.
Hmm.
So that's where I started interacting with a lot of doctors, or
Mm-hmm.
more doctors. It's a small town hospital, so there were only about maybe 5 doctors, but always some doctors coming, and like some expert in some field coming for a day or two, and I got to talk to them. So when I was going more into keto and eating more red meat, I like to ask the doctors and nurses about this, and they just were like split in two groups. Some said you shouldn't, and some said you should. But what I found out very quickly is that the older doctors said you shouldn't, and the younger doctors said you should eat the meat. And the younger doctors advocated for low carb diets. They said it would work good, and it would lower my insulin, and they started explaining this to me. So I started researching insulin and stuff like that. So I had access to very smart people who educated me along with my research. And they also, when I sometimes brought a paper that I printed out from something that I had found, some study, showed me some results, and they started to teach me how to read studies. And I remember one time there was some study I pulled out that to me looked like a proof that eating much meat wasn't good for me. And two of the doctors at work that day said, "Oh, this is an epidemiology, so you don't really have to buy into it. These researchers probably were looking for this, so they didn't look for the other things. They were looking for meat to be bad, and that's what they found." That's how it was explained to me. So that's why when I talk to people about nutrition, when they quote the epi studies, I just really, it's I just don't go down that lane. I said you have to give me something better than just epidemiology. And I also tell people that you can pull out 744 epidemiology studies like the red meat and cancer research did. 744 bad studies that all find the same conclusion. They are still bad studies. So you need to give me something better. And I also listen to people. I also listen to people on the other side, the people that go vegan and reclaim their health. You have to listen to that. But I just don't like people promoting veganism because meat is bad, because I think it's not. Promote veganism because it's good for you, if it is, and also take into account that for every vegan there are probably 5 ex-vegans.
Right. Well, this is absolutely brilliant. This is absolutely brilliant because this is and this shows two really important, really interesting things uh, that people like the general population need to be literate in understanding studies, because usually people when they read an article and it says scientists say, then like their
Yeah,
brain switches off and they think, okay, hey, scientists say, like that's it, like the thing is settled. No, actually,
yeah,
scientists
exactly.
can be completely wrong, and it also depends on the quality of the science, and that's exactly it. Like all that science that supposedly shows that meat is bad, it's all epidemiological studies, observational studies, and it's like garbage. So yeah, and this
Exactly.
is it. Like the general public needs to become literate in understanding studies and understanding the words that are used by like understanding things like what does it mean it's an epidemiological study, what does it mean, right, and all those things. Another thing that shows is that, okay, there's a saying I once read. It says that science progresses with one death of a scientist per death of a scientist. That basically you
Yeah,
can't really change the mind of a scientist. You can't really, you can't do this. You need to wait for the new generation to come on, and that
yeah,
new generation will change things. And so when you say that the younger doctors tended to to tell you meat is all right, right? That perfectly portrays that exactly that problem. So okay, so this is pretty cool. All right, so tell me, tell me all the health benefits that you have observed since being carnivore.
Well, since I went hardcore in carnivore, for the first, I don't know, sometimes I say 10 days, sometimes I say 3 weeks. It's probably in between 3 weeks and 6 weeks, I had enormous benefits. First of all, my energy levels went up for work, my concentration, my ability to work out in the gym, my focus at work, my ability to read. I haven't had the concentration or ability to read a book to my enjoyment for years. I've been trying and giving up, but every now and then I do get into some sort of zone. Like if I go away to Spain or somewhere, I can grab a book and read one book on a 10-day vacation. But that's when I'm, out of everything and just resting. I have a better time concentrating, but reading, like sitting down for half an hour and reading a little bit, it's been very hard for me. Even though I've been reading a lot of science studies and articles on nutrition, but that's what I'm into. So now most days I try to read something to learn from, like from the nutrition world, science, and something to enjoy, like a novel. And I also have, about 1.5 years ago, I was, 2.5 years, I had diagnosis of ADD, attention disorder, which of course I've had since I was a child. And I got medication for that, Concerta, and we experimented, me and my doctor, with it for a while to find out the dosage, and we found out that I would need the biggest dosage allowed for the drug to work on me. But and that was when I was on a low carb diet. But when I started eating this way, I found that the drugs worked even better. But soon after that, my blood pressure went up. So I stopped them for a while and been experimenting again. And now I'm only taking about probably a quarter of what I used to take. I think I was taking 126 milligrams, and now I'm using 36. And I only use it when I'm working or when I need to be focused. And I'm not very calm, then I take the drugs. And that's one of the health benefits I've had. I have lowered my dosage, so I can concentrate, and my mental clarity is better, and my mental health, because I've been dealing with depression for years, but not very serious depression. Mostly in the winter here in Iceland when it's very dark, and especially if there's no snow in the winter, it's even more dark. So the winter time, especially after Christmas, from mid-January until end of February, has been hard on me. But for the last 2 years, I just feel nothing. I just go through that like any other day. So it's helped me with my mental health, definitely. And I also had, before I started this, I was on blood pressure medicine that I had been able to cut while doing low carb or keto, but sometimes I had to use them again and sometimes not. But I haven't used them now for almost 2 years. I also had medicine for acid reflux that I had sometimes been able not to use because I'm not very fond of using a lot of drugs. So I was always experimenting if I could cut them out. And I usually could cut them out for a few days, even weeks, but then I got some reflux again. But now I haven't used them. I haven't actually used them since just before I started carnivore diet. So I'm off all drugs except the Concerta that I've cut down 75%. And I do have better mental health, definitely better mental health. And I can just tell you that after the 3 months were up of the Sean Baker experiment, I said to my wife that I wanted to try this for another 3 months, and she completely agreed. And after the 6 months, I said, maybe I should incorporate some other foods. And she said, no, you shouldn't. And I said, why? And she said, you're just a different person, you know. You were lovely and sweet before, but this is totally different, you know.
Wow.
So I'm calm, and you know, nothing offsets me really. I don't panic or anything if something goes wrong, if we get into financial troubles, or it's just I'm just always, you know, I can handle anything. I feel like I can handle anything now. And for more health benefits, my joint pains that I just thought were a part of getting older, they are completely gone unless I have a meal at my mom's place. Then I wake up with joint pains the day after, because usually I have ice cream as well if I eat at my mom's. So when I eat carnivore more than 99% of the time. There are these meals, and I do actually have an ice cream every so often, very rarely, because it has consequences.
Mm-hmm. So how high was your blood pressure before going carnivore, and how's it now?
My blood pressure on low carb diet with medicine was 140/90, and the medicine didn't really help. It did something, but not really. But now it's about 130, 135/80. And it just stays there. And my pulse is slower. I used to have a pulse around 80, but now it's around 70.
Awesome. So has your
So,
wife joined you in eating carnivore?
no,
No.
no, she hasn't. She has tried for a few days, but she just doesn't like it. She just eats, you know, regular food. She's just, but every now and then she goes on you know, she cuts something out if she feels like she's going off, or if she's not just feeling too happy about herself. She usually goes low carb for a while, just to get back on track.
Mm-hmm. So that's fantastic. Yeah, really, really cool. So this is great to have the support of your wife, you know, because
Oh
I
yeah,
can imagine that that for many others it's exactly the other way around, you know, that they will discourage you from this and would tell you to eat more vegetables and more fruit.
yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I can
So,
tell you that I have two daughters, and one of them has been eating almost carnivore for 1.5 years probably. Almost. She's very low carb, but she incorporates some like coffee drinks and with cream and artificial sweeteners, and she has salad every now and then. And my other daughter used to be an I don't know, an all-out eater. You know, she just ate whatever. But now she has incorporated a lot more meat, and that's a benefit from my diet. That she sees that benefits from my diet, and also this. So my older daughter, she eats less meat, but she has incorporated more. Her boyfriend took a carnivore journey for a few months and felt a lot better, and uh, he probably eats 70 or 80% meat and then some veggies. They have two kids, a 6-month-old boy who is being introduced to butter and beef fat and fish and cream and meat and all that stuff. And they have a 5-year-old daughter as well who eats a lot of meat. And when she visits her granddad, she just likes to share his steak. And my younger daughter, who has been living in Norway for a while, is living here now. And she and her boyfriend, they incorporated a carnivore diet for a while, but they would probably be on what people are calling the hyper carnivore, eat mostly meat, but some veggies, and they probably get 80 to 90% of their calories from red meat. And her boyfriend actually has been diagnosed with a brain tumor about 16 months ago, and has been undergoing chemotherapy and radiation. And he has kept his diet, and he's doing extremely well. He's actually taking his last chemo yesterday, I think, or maybe it's today. And he's got great results from his last scan. They can see nothing wrong in his brain. And the doctors say that his diet and lifestyle, that he's eating the way he is, has played a big influence on the results, because by eating no sugar at all, he's not feeding the brain tumor or the cancer cells. And they also acknowledge that by eating all this red meat, he himself is so well nourished that he can cope with all the chemo and radiation in a way they haven't seen before. So the results are great.
But this is really amazing that there's so many doctors now who actually support that type of diet. I'm blown
Yeah,
away. But
yeah, they do that.
yeah, but it's really, we really need to go like one case at a time, and like just by leading by through example, like you won't convince people, just by talking to them. I think you just need to do your thing,
Yeah,
be an example, and if people are open enough, then they will follow like one of your doctors, right?
yeah,
This is amazing. There's actually another guy. His name is Andrew. I know first name is Andrew. The second name I think is Scarborough or something like that.
yeah. I've heard of him. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, he also had brain cancer, but he had surgery and they removed most of the brain cancer, but they left that there was like one part that was remaining,
yeah,
and there was something weird going on, and then he started eating only meat, and then that weirdness stopped. Like it seemed like it was growing again, so that stopped, and he's been now fine for several years.
yeah.
So
It's a similar condition to my son-in-law, who they removed the cancer, they removed the tumor, but they did see he had some, if I remember correctly, had some cancer cells in his brain. And last month, when he had his MRI scan, they called him again and they wanted him to come back for another to check again, because they said they did see some irregularities on the scan photos. And then they called him with the result. So they got a second opinion from Holland and from the States, I think, and maybe some other places, because they weren't sure what they saw in the pictures. But then they called him again on a Sunday to tell him that the scans was actually clear. They said, for brain cancer, we don't tell people they are clear, but you should not have to expect any backlash for at least 10 years. And the problem with the first pictures, the reason we wanted to take them again is because the irregularities we saw were actually that we didn't see anything, and we couldn't believe it. So And they had another scan, and it still couldn't see anything. And they had a second and a third opinion, and they couldn't see anything.
So the irregularity was that there was no brain cancer.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is hilarious. Okay, so so you're not planning to going back, Hossein. Did I ask you this already? I forgot. So you're
No,
not
you
planning,
didn't. I just told you.
okay,
I'm not planning to go back
ever, okay.
from this way of. No, as long as this worked this well for me, you know, this is not. Well, of course, it is a bit of an ideology, but this is not a religion for me. You know, if like this other son-in-law who did this for a few months, he got rid of allergies and stuff. He did sleep better, but he just likes to eat differently. He likes to incorporate potatoes and salads or veggies or something every now and then. So he just does that. So for me, that's not a problem for me. If he wants to eat this way, he does. I'm not lecturing anyone. People think I'm lecturing when I'm putting things on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, but the message I'm trying to deliver is that meat is not a problem. Whatever is wrong with you may be wrong with your diet. If there is anything wrong with your diet that is regarding your health, meat is most likely not the problem.
Mm-mm. Right. Exactly. Yeah, I agree 100%. Like, I think that, if people want to eat vegetables or fruits together with their meat, go ahead. If you're fine with it, if you don't have any allergies to broccoli or strawberries or whatever that can be, just go ahead, as long as you eat meat like at least once a day, in my opinion, or at least as long as you eat any type of meat or animal product, right? But if you're fine with eating other stuff with it, sure. But what I find so fascinating about about people eating only meat is that this basically what this is that type of experiment that has never been conducted by those people who should have conducted those experiments, by those
Exactly.
nutritionists and scientists and doctors who all tell us meat is bad. Well, you can only say that meat or any other food that you're isolating is bad if you have done that type of experiment, that you're eating only that food for a given amount of time and then observe what happens. And so this is like a worldwide experiment that's happening with the carnivore diet. Like thousands of people are doing it, and it busts basically every single thing that we've been told about what meat causes. That it causes heart attacks, strokes, diabetes,
Yeah.
that it damages kidneys. That it contributes to gout. It appears that it does exactly the opposite of everything we've been told, right?
Exactly. It seems to fix everything it's supposed to cause.
Right.
So there has actually been done one study on a meat diet for 1 year, and that was done 90 years ago. There were only two subjects, and one of them was actually Icelandic, and he was the Arctic explorer Vilhjálmur Stefánsson, and his partner, I think his friend's name is Anderson, and they had been claiming that eating only meat was good for health. So scientists in a New York hospital wanted to do this experiment, so they locked them away for a few weeks at first to monitor them because they thought they would die. But after 3 weeks, they were just, fine, or 3 months or whatever. So they just had to report every day to the hospital for a year, and they were actually monitored. The scientists wanted to prove that this wasn't possible. They would get scurvy and whatever disease. And that was in 1928 to 1929. And you can find that on Google just by Googling meat study Wilhelms Stephenson. And you can read it. And it's a good study, but no one mentions it. And everyone disputes it because there were only two subjects. But it's still a very good study.
Right. Yeah.
They had some problems. They had some problems for a while. One had some digestion problem or diarrhea or something for a while, but that was when he was eating a very lean meat with no fat. And most carnivores have experienced that. If they cut out the fat, you get digestive problems. And also if you have too much fat. It has to be just like probably 15 to 20% fat. And that's actually how the animal comes, with 15 to 20%. So if you eat the animal as it is, you'll probably just be fine. So this study was done 90 years ago. And then the Sean Baker 3-month trial, it's not an official study, but the outcome was good. 95% of the people were claiming they felt a lot better and got rid of some problems, mostly joint pain.
Yeah, joint pain seems to be like, I don't know, 95% success rate, maybe even higher on the carnivore diet. It's just like a
Yeah,
sure thing. Joint pain, go carnivore, and it's like a few months later,
it
it's
goes.
gone.
Yeah, it
It's
sometimes
amazing.
goes in a few days.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I've experienced this. Yeah, totally. So how much weight in total have you lost?
So I lost in those three, or in the first 6 months, I lost about 13 kilos.
13, 1 3.
Yeah, one
Mm-hmm.
three. And then I gained some back. I'm actually not, I don't know how much I weigh now. I was 111 when I started. I went down to 98. I've been up to almost 110 again and down to 100. So it just depends on what I'm eating and how I'm feeling. Um, I am a bit of an emotional eater, or no, not emotional. It's more like comfort,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And not that I'm eating because I'm feeling bad. I actually eat more when I feel good, you know. I just like my steak and I like it fat. And if I eat a lot of fatty steak, I will gain weight. And if I eat the meat, if I eat just Icelandic lamb the way it comes from an animal, don't cut all the fat off, or don't add any. I just will trim down slowly. So when I lost 13 kilos, I gained some again, I lost some again. So I'm just yo-yoing a bit, and I'm not doing this I'm happy that I lost a few kilos. And it's very easy for me to lose a few more if I want to. But I'm not bothered with that at the moment, at least.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just eating when I'm hungry until I'm full. Sometimes I even eat when I'm not hungry, but mostly I eat when I'm hungry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've observed you can definitely gain weight on the carnivore diet because some people
Yeah,
say no, you can't. Yeah, you can if you eat more than you're really hungry for. Then you can easily gain weight. And then if you add dairy products like cheese and
yeah.
milk or whatever, oh, that is so easy,
Especially with the cheese, yeah.
so easy.
Especially
Yeah,
with the cheese,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It's very easy.
definitely. Yeah. Okay, great. You know what? I don't have any more questions. If there's anything you'd like to say, then go ahead. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Well, thank you for being in touch and inviting me to this. I'm very happy. I really want to get the message out there. And even though I have my Instagram account and I do that one in English, I'm I'm not focusing on being, recognized worldwide. I'm pretty well recognized in Iceland for this, and I just want to get the message to my community. I want people to, try things on themselves, not buy into everything. Just like you said that people need to be more literate for science. I think reporters and journalists need to be literate for science. They just don't think about the clickbaits. The problem, the problem that we have with the media, I can at least see it in Iceland. I don't know any newspaper, TV station, radio, or or radio station, the major ones, they all have vegan journalists. And that's maybe it's a coincidence, but it could also be a part of the propaganda. But you know, vegans are also they also want to get the message out there, but they seem to be the people that are in the media. That's why these 3% or whatever they are very loud. Vegans seem to be in the media. They also seem to be artists, musicians, and all these famous writers, and a lot of famous people adopt veganism. And I don't have a problem with the individuals going vegan. I just have a problem with them putting it out there because meat is bad. Because I know meat isn't bad. So for everyone out there who wants to try something or has a problem with a diet, you should try everything. I can say that because I've tried everything but veganism probably. But you should try everything, and if you feel good, if you feel good for 3 months, that doesn't mean you will feel good forever. But just be aware of how you feel. I have thought sometimes if I need to manipulate my diet, like I told you that I haven't been feeling depressed in the winter, but still last winter I felt I was a bit down, not depressed, just lower on energy than usual. So what I did then, I started eating cod liver with lots of omega-3 and vitamin D, and it took me about 1 week so I was probably just very low in vitamin D. And being low in vitamin D and omega-3 is not good for your brain health, for your mental health, especially in the Icelandic winter when there's daylight between noon and 4. So you just need to adjust your diet to how you feel. If you're not feeling good, do something. Mix it up in some way.
Yeah.
And I think that's just my message. Experiment on yourself and accept that the diet you want to follow, it may not work for you.
Right. You know what? I just now noticed your shirt, Iceland Carnivore Tribe. I didn't even see that before. It's awesome. Yeah, but I agree. But many journal. Oh, and the coffee mug.
I
Awesome.
had this designed by my friend,
Uh-huh.
this logo,
Yeah.
and you can buy this actually through Sean Baker's website.
It's a great logo. I love it.
Yeah,
With the
and
Viking. So
I
cool.
I paid my friend in a big box of steaks.
Awesome. Yeah, but I agree. Many journalists are very biased, and what I also observe is like the emergence of like fake vegans that like just preach veganism, but they're not really vegan themselves.
Oh yeah,
And like the prime example is Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is now in
yeah,
this movie Game Changers, right? But then recently he made he gave an interview, and they
yeah,
were going through what he's eating in a day, and so he was showing his post-workout smoothie that he likes to make, and what does he do, put in the smoothie? An egg, a raw
yeah.
egg,
Of course,
okay? And then the interviewer asks him, okay, what's your favorite thing to grill, right? And Arnold Schwarzenegger, without even a pause, he says steak. Okay, so
of course.
we have a guy who at least it appears like regularly eats eggs post workout, right? And loves to grill steak, but he preaches veganism to others.
Yeah,
And or for another example is the Zuckerberg guy. What's his first name? Mark Zuckerberg. I forget.
yeah. The Facebook
The
guy.
Facebook guy, exactly. So this is an older interview where he said that he was basically describing that he raises his own goats. Okay, So he raises those goats and then he kills them, okay? Because he wants to have like total control over the meat that he eats. And then he says, like he describes all that he's going through. Like you have to imagine like to buying your own goats, right? To setting up like the space for the goats in your backyard or farm or wherever, right? So like this is a huge investment for to keep goats just to have proper meat. And then at the end he says, so I'm basically as good as vegan. So I'm like,
Oh,
wait, I'm sorry, what? You just told us all the things that you're doing just to get the proper meat into you, but you described yourself as being nearly vegan.
yeah. That's
Like
incredible.
another example was when I was in school and it was in naturopathic school, and my teacher, he was also preaching veganism the whole time. And then I asked him, okay, are you vegan? What do you eat? No, and he says he regularly eats fish, okay? But he would like that whole time, he would just preach veganism to us, but he wasn't vegan himself. It's just
Yeah,
like, whoa, like that hypocrisy. I just can't. I just can't. And that's a lot. I think
exactly.
in journalism, that's a lot of that is going on. I think it is because this is because it's basically they're selling us the idea that veganism and not eating meat is just good for the planet, for humans in general, And so it's like the politically correct thing to push, but oftentimes they're not vegan themselves. Those people that push the veganism.
Yeah, I think veganism can be good for about 10% of the population, of the world's population, maybe 20 at most. But I think that meat-based diet would be best for the other part, the 80 to 90%, without a doubt.
You see, I don't think that anyone ever benefited from not eating meat. Because when you look at the vegans who have benefits, and I've been vegan myself for like 3 weeks of my life or something. And so what I experienced was like the first 2 weeks, I was feeling amazing. I was living back then on a fourth floor, and there was no elevator, so I had to walk up. I was just flying up those stairs. I wasn't walking up, I was just flying up. Okay. And then in the third week, I was like a zombie, like a grandma. I was like, I have no energy at all. And
Yeah,
so what I believe what happens is because when people go vegan, it's not that they just stop eating meat. No. They also cut out sugar. They cut out the colas, Pepsis, and all the sodas. They usually also cut out grains and like gluten-containing foods. They stop eating like frozen pizzas, but instead prepare their food at home. So they're changing like 5 different things besides not eating meat. And there's those 5 other things that reduce inflammation and make them feel better, but it has nothing to do with the meat.
yeah. I also think when you go vegan from an evolutionary point of view, because throughout evolution, humans been eating mostly meat, and when you stop eating meat, you are actually telling your body you're out of food,
Mm-mm.
and your body reacts by giving you all the energy and focus he can, so you have the energy to hunt an animal.
Mm-mm.
But if you don't do that in a few weeks or months, you will decline again.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Look, I'm gonna let you go. We've done the interview long enough. So if you want, just tell people your Instagram handle, just so they can
Yeah,
find you.
you can probably not. It's Austfjord. It's my last name. If you put my last name out there, it's just my Austfjord. That's my Instagram handle.
Okay. You want me? Do you give me permission to
Yeah,
say your full
please.
name? Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, so then I'm gonna end it. Thank you again for the generous time and to give some extra cuddles to your dog for me.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
thank you very much. So
Thank
take
you.
care. Bye. Bye
Bye.
bye.